Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Knights, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing Chapter 4 of The Captain's Heart. Gralgiran ran his finger through Tom's almost white grey fur, head on his friend's shoulder, while debating if he should let himself fall back into sleep, get out of bed and go on with his day, or climb on top and enjoy him again. "What time is it?" Tom asked. The words slurred slightly. "I don't know." He nuzzled through the splotch of black fur on the other male's neck. The captain doesn't have to worry about things like time of day when things are running smoothly. "I'm not," Tom moaned as Gralgiran nipped through the fur. "I'm not the captain," he said, panting. "If anyone complains, tell them to come to me with it." With a surprised exhale of air, Gralgiran found himself pushed onto his back. "And what will the mighty Alpha Hunter do?" Tom asked, straddling him, hands on his shoulder and muzzles nearly touching. "I was going to say I forced you to stay in bed with me." A quick lick of the other male's nose pad had Tom chuckling. "But I'm not sure anyone would believe me now." Tom slowly ground his ass against the crotch he sat on. "I'm sure you have the training to turn things on me. Except you kind of have all of me thinking about where it's going to enter, and..." The screen on the desk next to the bed flickered on and off and back on. Then the lights in the room came on, increasing in strength until Gralgiran had to close his eyes, then were off again. Tom was off him before he said anything. Gralgiran grabbed the collar off the floor and put it on. "Engineering," he instructed as he put the attached earpiece in place. He received a connected signal, but no one accepted the call. Alex Deberan." This time, the call didn't even connect. Before he could try to remember one of the technician's name, the tone announcing someone was contacting him sounded. "Accept." "Captain, sensor," Kergerik said. "I am getting extreme power fluctuation throughout the ship. Finland is fielding civilian calls and I can't get anyone in engineering to respond." He put on his pants. "What are the sensors reading from there?" Tom was already putting his vest on. "It's where the surge originated from, but now it's all below standards." "Wait!" Gralgiran used the time to put on his vest as he headed for the door. "Medical's on their way there." "So am I," he ran, calling over his shoulder. "I'll find you when this is over." Then he was dodging people milling in the corridor. He kept from cursing them, but sometimes he thought a lot of the people on the ship turned into cubs, and when something out of the ordinary happened. Without an alarm warning them their lives were in danger, out of the quarter they came, nose to the wind and ears forward, trying to understand what this new adventure was about. He cut through the leisure alley. I need a better name for this. He cut through the leisure alley that linked the housing corridor to the main travel one, and had to dodge more people. The power surge had interrupted the ballad playbacks and the game system, so they, too, were no better than cubs. Even those on the couches whose entertainment didn't need power had stopped to watch everyone else. Once in the travel corridor, he didn't have to worry about people. Regulations required these were kept clear so emergency personnel could reach where they needed to go unimpeded. He grabbed the first lift. He reached and went down the 6 levels to technical and supply to the technical and the technical and supply one. As soon as the door opened, he was running. He smelled the smoke and heard orders being given in the distance. He stopped in the engineering room's entrance and assessed the situation. Technicians were... Okay, that's going to go there. Assess the situation. Technicians were at the reactor as well as other panels, calling information that meant nothing to him. Medics were to the side looking over the injured, and a sandy-furred male was being placed on a gurney. He ran there. His engineer came first. How is he? He demanded of the female attaching the armband. The side of Alex's that had been hidden from his view was burned to the skin, and that was cracked and bleeding. He's unconscious, Captain, she replied. There was a discharge, according to the technicians, and he took the brunt of it. His vitals are low, but not threateningly so. I won't have a full report for you until I've had time to fully examine him. Let me know as soon as it's filed. Yes, Captain, I'm going to have to change something. He moved to the other injured as she pushed the gurney out of engineering. How are they? The medic glanced at him, then returned to work. To his work. Varying degrees of minor burns, some mental fuzziness. Once we've confirmed there's nothing immediately threatening to their health, we will escort them to medical for a thorough check. Gralgiran turned and looked at a technician who wasn't busy. What happened? I don't. The female froze on seeing him, her ears folded back. Folding back, and she forced them up through will. I don't know, Captain. I was monitoring from the wall station as the engineer had instructed. While he was making alterations, the power surged, and she motioned around them. Who here is going to have any idea of what happened? She looked around and pointed to a brindled-furred male who was giving instruction. He noticed Gralgiran approaching, and after one more instruction, he turned to face him. Technician Thorax Albinal. Captain, Dev 3 Hunter. What happened, Hunter? Gralgiran replied, asserting he was addressing him as one of his Hunter instead of another of the technician. This explained why he thought the name was familiar. He'd read the file of every Hunter on the ship. We were proceeding with alterations to the reactor and surrounding conduits for reasons the engineer didn't share with us. The engineer handled everything relating to the reactor itself. He was in the center when it happened. And what is this hit? Unknown at this time, Alpha. All we have to go by are the effect, not what caused them. The burst of radiation originated from the reactor and quickly dissipated, so only those working at it and monitoring the readouts directly were affected, in other to the injured. The engineer was working in the center, so received the worst of it. Technician Xerxes rushed in and pulled him out, which is how she was injured, even if she wasn't next to the reactor when the event happened. By the time we got over the surprise, the power was fluctuating drastically. We have brought that under control, but repairs will need to look over the ship to see if anything was damaged because of it. Then that danger is over? As far as we can tell, yes, Alpha. Thank you for the report, Hunter. Now, Technician Turek, what do you think happened? The shift in how he was addressed caused the shorter male to look uncertain. I don't know, Captain. I'm aware the changes were to reduce the power generation and introduce an element of fluctuation in its distribution. We had already installed a capacitor to smooth the flow before it was distributed throughout the ship. If they were in place, why did the power go crazy? I don't know. My guess is that the first surge burnt through the capacitor, but that should have cut the power out completely. The odds of them burning in a way that lets power flow normally are low. How low? Turek hesitated. On the level of meddling, Captain. Gralgiran took a slow breath and hoped this wasn't the case. If the gods were meddling, this wasn't going to be the simple investigation it looked like. But why would the gods involve themselves in something concerning the Earthers? They had their own gods looking after them, didn't they? All right. What's the power situation? We're due to reach the Earther station in 8 days. The backup can easily handle bringing us in. We can't use the backup. We need to limp into port. That was the point of the changes Alex was making. They would let us simulate an accident that would keep us docked there while we worked on fixing things. Turek looked around the room. There's no need to simulate anything anymore, Captain. The reactor won't work until the engineer repairs it. Can't you do it? I'm just a technician. I can handle the adjustment, or if I'm given the instruction plate, make the changes the engineer needs made, but I don't have the training to understand the reactor. It's the engineer's work. What are the options for stopping without the backup? Unless you start slowing us now, we are going to need to divert most of the power keeping the lights on to that. But I don't know if that generator can handle the kind of requirement the propulsion system demands without sustaining damage. If we start slowing now, what are we looking at? Both in deceleration and effect on the available power for the civilians. I don't know. The engineer will have to run the number and see. Alex isn't capable of doing that right now. I need you to do it. Turek looked up at the wide window. I'm going to have to go in the engineer's office. Then you do that. The engineer doesn't allow anyone in his office without his explicit approval. In that case, Hunter Turek, your Alpha is instructing you to go in Alex's office so you can perform your technician's duty to your captain. Turek straightened. Yes, Alpha. Alex would scream when he found out about this, and Gralgiran looked forward to it. Gralgiran, do I keep mispronouncing his name? It's Gralgiran. It keeps feeling like I'm pronouncing Gralgiran. Gralgiran entered medical and stopped, giving the medics time to notice him. When one nodded toward the chief medic's office, he proceeded. It's not I. The report was sent because he was not addressing her, he was addressing one of the medics. The report was sent, she told him once he was in her office, and I needed translated. I'm just a ship's captain. High technical is well beyond my ability to understand. She chuckled and motioned to the chair on the other side of the desk. The rough translation into something even a captain will understand is that engineer Alex Debaran suffered radiation burns over 58% of his body. We have stabilized him and he is in a regeneration chamber, but he isn't responding as quickly as he should. What does that mean? It means I can't tell you when he will be out of it. We've gone over the equipment as well as the regeneration fluids. The cause isn't there, which means it has to be the radiation he's been exposed to. I looked over the literature regarding exposure to radiation caused by antimatter reaction, but there isn't much. It isn't something that had to be treated often. What are the odds Alex is going to be healed within the next 7 days? She brought up something on her screen. Not high. Low odds again. Thank you, Medic Airfirm. You turned to leave. Gralgiran, she said, he will heal. I trust your judgment, Airfirm. There's just more going on than you're aware of. He left medical and needed a few seconds to adjust to the lower lights. Medical itself couldn't be without low power. Couldn't be with low power. No, you know what? Without full power. Couldn't be without full power, but he had to decide where to pull power from once Turek had given him the numbers and he ran them by Tom. As a pilot, his friend had been able to calculate the range of power requirement that would let the Viper's Bane reach the station capable of coming to a stop. He decided that the civilian quarters and promenade would keep full power, along with vital areas, and everything else was brought down to minimum. The crew could deal with sacrifice and comfort, as well as could their families. That left him with one question. What were the gods up to? This smelled of Jizbilam's work complicating something simple. Maybe she was arranging for one of the technicians to have the inspiration that would get them out of this predicament. He suspected that instead, she sought to drive him to insanity. How long until the Earthers questioned why they were there? There would be no question the damage was real now, but would they suspect why the Bane had been so close? This had been the only station they could seek help from? They had to be aware of the suspicions. He entered the room before realizing where he was, then paused and breathed in the scented air as he looked at the banners hanging on the wall. This was one of the many rooms dedicated to the gods on the ship, since even now there were many of his people who followed the old traditions. Each of the banner had a god symbol on it, and he looked at each one, evaluating which of them he could use the help of in this situation. He stopped before the green banner with the leaves cut in the wind, destined for only this god could figure out where. He placed his hand on the leaves. Xinial Haram, hear the voice of one who holds the old ways in his mind, and lend my ship the fortune to carry through its mission. Visit Alex Debaran, even if he isn't one who thinks of you and the others, and lend him the fortune to heal properly so my ship will have an engineer who to render it fully functional before the Earthers grow wary of our presence. He bowed his head and listened to the silence until he was sure the god wouldn't deign provide him with an answer directly, then headed for the door, where he turned to face the room again. I remember you, he told the banners, then exited. And this concludes Chapter 4 of The Captain's Heart. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is on Ream Story at this time. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.